We are back, and we have one of the most highly anticipated decks of the new set, Moana Princesses. As we know, Disney is a princess money machine, and so with Rise of the Floodborn, we are obviously going to be getting more princesses, and Moana loves herself some princesses, and there are some pretty incredible new princesses in this set. There's technically a couple different ways to build Moana now. The Archer Belle being in emerald and green really kind of wants you to play in green as well, though Moana doesn't really sit at home as much in that deck, as much of it just becomes kind of a general value deck. I think keeping her in Sapphire, oh, I didn't cut, I spoiled, oh, no, I don't have any Sapphire cards in here, I lied. There are Sapphire cards in here. Keeping her in Sapphire, keeping her with the healing theme with all these high health Amber cards and a lot of these Sapphire cards that can really keep healing, I think is the perfect spot for Moana. We did do a couple videos on this deck a while ago with the first set came out, but this new stuff changes the game in a super meaningful way. The deck is a lot stronger now. Just in time, still broken as ever, and it's the most abused in Moana, that's for sure. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get into the deck. So we're starting off with for Moana. We wouldn't go anywhere without her. She is the princess of Motunui. She quests for 3. She has 6 health. She untaps all your princesses whenever she quests. She is incredible. She is like the best build around out of any of the starter decks from the first set. She is amazing. She's a beautiful princess girl, and we love her very much. I just wish she got an enchanted. Then, a lot of our princesses in this set can shift themselves out, and Moana is no exception. Even though she doesn't say shift on her, Just in Time plays any card in our hand that costs 5 or less. Keep an eye on how many cards in this deck cost 5. It's all of them, basically. This card is insane and plays so many different cards straight out of our hand way too early. Almost all of our high-cost princesses are questing for 2 or 3, have incredible effects at getting us dominating the game or getting us back into it if we're behind in an aggro matchup. Just in Time is just broken as all hell. Every set they print new broken 5 costs. Just in Time gets even stronger. I still stand by this is the first card to get banned. This card's insane. Following up with Moana, we've got Aurora, same thing from the last set. Just having 2 ward, being able to ward your entire board is incredibly powerful, especially with all the new buffs that Steel got in this set. It's so nice. Especially if you get 2 of her, you can shift one out on turn 3, Just in Time another one out on turn 4. Your whole board has ward, Steel wants to kill themselves, and then you win the game. And because she has shift 3, we have our 2-ink Aurora to pair with her to get even her out on turn 3. We can shift her out on turn 3 with Aurora, or we can just cheat her out with Just in Time. Just in Time is uninkable. You want to see all 4 every game. There is never a time in this deck where Just in Time is bad unless it's the only card in your hand. And even then, you're going to top deck something that you can play with it. It's insane. Just in Time does so much work in this deck. Following that up, we've got Jasmine. We did cut this down to 3 because we have a new Jasmine that it comes in at 1 ink. So we can shift this down on turn 3. And this Jasmine also heals characters just like this Jasmine does. And we wanted a little bit more flexibility for a character we'll show off in just a minute. But because we needed more 3 costs for some song reasons and just for other ways to shift her out if we really needed it, we've got the 3-ink Jasmine as well, a 3/3 that quests for 2. Highlighting the small Jasmine real quick, a 1-ink inkable. Notice all of our cards are inkable right now except for Just in Time, which doesn't matter because we never ink it because it's the best card in our deck. She's a 1/2, so she can still has 2 health, which is very nice. She only quests for 1, but that's fine. Whenever you play her, you heal one of your characters 1 damage, which is not a lot, but as you'll see in the future, the healing really matters. Specifically with the brand new Rapunzel, 5-ink Rapunzel that says shift 3, which pairs perfectly with the brand new 2-ink Rapunzel. But our big Rapunzel here quests for 2, which is great to go with Moana, has 6 health, amazing to go with Moana, and with our healer, since she's likely to live a combat or 2. And whenever you heal one of your characters, you draw a card. Now, the wording on this means that if you use Jasmine's mass heal to heal 2 damage off of 5 characters, you still only draw 1 card. So do keep that in mind. You're not going to draw 10 cards off that interaction, but that's why we've got our small Jasmine in here at 4 copies and this Rapunzel, which can exert herself to heal one of our characters for 2 damage. We were having the Singing Cinderella, the 4-ink Cinderella in this slot to be able to heal our princesses, but this Rapunzel does the job much better because she has a good shift target, and she only has to exert herself, and she's only 2 ink. And she can heal anybody. Even though she only heals 1 less, it doesn't matter. She's healing everybody. She's healing anybody. And we're getting extra draw off of our big Rapunzel. Speaking of drawing off Rapunzel, you know her. You love her. She's still $50 for no reason. 4 ink Rapunzel. Technically, we're able to shift onto this pretty easily because you're going to play this card, you're going to get its ETB, then next turn for only 3 ink, you can shift on top, do some other healing by following up with a Jasmine, gain some lore, you can quest with her immediately, follow up with a Moana to untap it. Still very nice, even though the mana efficiency is not terribly there. You do like pay 2 extra ink than you would rather pay, but it's still okay because she only has an ETB. You're gaining stats, you lose 1 attack, but that doesn't matter. The attack on this character has never mattered anyways. You're not really fighting your opponent, you're just trying to race them by dropping a bunch of guys that quest for 2 as early as possible with our shifts, with our just-in-times. Notably, this character comes out on turn 3, this character comes out on turn 3, this character comes out on turn 3. All of them come out on turn 3 with just in time. They all can shift down on turn 3. Turn 3 is our pop-off turn almost no matter what. You're going to be hard mulliganing for a lot of these things, and then if your opponents try to kill them, Rapunzel comes in and heals them up and you draw a million cards. The Rapunzel being on 4 ink here actually really synergizes with the deck very well, since a lot of your big booty princesses are coming out on turn 3 because of just in time and their shift values. So this is our main princess lineup. We've got a few more, I believe, coming a little bit later on in the deck, but these are heavy hitters and their shift targets. So we're just going to go ahead and pick these guys up just a little bit, make some more room for more friends. We are all 5-cost cards, so we have Let It Go, just the best removal in blue. Take one of your opponent's cards, stick it in their inkwell. All of your guys sing this. They're all 5-cost. You can run this out on turn 4, untap with Moana. You quest with something, then untap it with Moana, then sing it just to punish them even harder. Let It Go is always going to be a mainstay in this deck as long as our guys cost 5, and it looks like all the big payoff princesses are going to be at 5 for just in time to really abuse. Next up, we've got a newer card that falls into our removal suite, World's Greatest Criminal Mind, a 3 ink inkable song, which means that our Jasmine can sing it, our Rapunzel can sing it, which is very nice. It says banish chosen character with 5 attack or more. This didn't come up a lot in a lot of our testing. However, I like to play a lot of low to the ground decks that don't really have guys that cost 5 or more. In your more control decks, where they're trying to play those big top end Aladdins, BLT Mickeys, either the dragons, now that we've got Maleficent Dragon and Madame Mim Dragon, this card really can just take those things off the board. Very, very nice to be able to eat those things alive. Also, in the matchups where you're against an aggro deck, it's inkable. You just throw it into your ink, you don't think about it twice, it's never going to be alive. You just throw it into your mana because one of the biggest problems with this deck is every card is insane. You don't want to ink anything. This card has the flexibility of being inkable in certain matchups and blowout in other matchups. It's a very, very nice card. I like it a lot in here. Then to make sure that we always have princesses in our hand, we've got Be Our Guest. 2 ink, which means singable by our 3s, but also singable by all of our 2s, being our Aurora and our 2 ink Rapunzel, who's hiding down there. Just to keep refueling, really make sure that on turn 3, if we have a just in time in hand, we can sing this on turn 3 with one of our 2-cost guys, find a big princess, either shift it down if we have one of the 2-cost princesses already out, or play a just in time and run somebody out. We really want to be hitting our 5-cost princesses on turn 3, and Be Our Guest perfectly curves into that. We really love that. And finally, for our last princess, we've got Cinderella here. This is Singerella, as I'm calling her. Our 1 ink Singerella, which has Singer 3. You're gonna have to excuse my proxies here. Our printer was running a little light on ink, and now we do have some of the new cards. We don't have all of them. So our Singerella here took the brunt of our kind of whack printer ink levels. But this card, while it doesn't, we're not playing the big shift Cinderella because it's in steel, it doesn't really work. We are still have some interesting songs, some useful songs in Be Our Guest and World's Greatest Criminal Mind. So having the Singer 3 is still very useful, especially being able to like quest for 1, untap it with Moana, sing with these guys. Also in the mid to late game, she just becomes ink, and we were kind of struggling for that. So that was very nice as well. Just having something that we were okay inking and not committing into the mid to late game. Early game, you drop her on turn 1, really good turn 1 play. We also need one of those. Sing up your songs on turns 2 and turn 3. Later on, you're just going to be throwing her into the inkwell, making way for your big heavy hitter princesses. And last but not least for our character, well, we'll do him at the very end. So next up, since we're so character heavy, we do have Lantern. Lantern on turn 2 allows us to play some of our 5-cost guys on turn 4, our Rapunzel on turn 3. It's just another way of really getting our characters out of our hand and putting them on the board, just so that we can really start abusing the fact that all these characters are really strong and they all quest for 1 million, and Lanterns can really turbo them out a lot faster than they should be. And without any further ado, what are some princesses without their king? I'm kidding, this is a joke, obviously. Mufasa is very strong in this deck. He has 5 ink, he's inkable, so in the early game you can throw him down. You don't feel too bad about it because he's not one of our high impact 5 cost blood. He can also be cheated out with just in time if you really need to. He's a 3/3 that quests for 2, so he's got the good quest stat line. He's got a decent body. He can be healed up by Rapunzel quite nicely. He's basically a Jasmine with text, which is nice. He sings Let It Go, which is super cool. And whenever he is banished by any means, whether that's by damage, by a board wipe, by a challenge, or anything, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character, play it for free. It's exerted, but that's okay. Otherwise, throw it on top of your deck. I don't know if you've been tracking. These, and Just in Time, are our only non-characters in this deck. We're playing so many characters in this deck, it's almost impossible to whip with this guy. To the point where I'm kind of considering turning one of these Cinderellas into another Mufasa, because this card is always insane. Especially in games 2 or game 3, when your opponent realizes that this guy never whiffs, because we're playing, 20 songs? 20 non-characters? Technically it's 19, right? Playing 41 characters in this deck. Like, this guy never whiffs. Worst case scenario, he's pulling out one of your small princesses that you can then shift onto, right? Like, it doesn't matter. You pull out Cinderella and you just start blowing up their shit by singing. It's crazy. This Mufasa works so well in this deck. It's basically, he was tailored for this deck. This Mufasa is very, very strong in other decks, but I think this is really his build and his bread and butter home. I really, really like Mufasa in this deck. This also is very useful because our Rapunzel can heal 2 damage from any character, not just princesses, and he holds 3 damage. You attack into a 2-drop or a 2 attack guy, you heal it up, you draw off your big Rapunzel, and then when they kill it, you just turn into a Moana, or you turn into a Jasmine, or you turn into an Aurora. It's so crazy powerful. What exactly Mufasa does for this deck keeps you have permanent board presence, questing for a lot, keeping your princess count high, allowing you to have another healing target. It does so much for this deck. Sing songs super well. It's incredible for this deck. Unfortunately, this is like, outside of the Rapunzel, as far as the new cards, this is the most expensive card from the new set. So for budget reasons, you might want to hold on to him. Although, admittedly, if you don't already have your Rapunzels, this is not a budget-friendly deck. If you already have your Rapunzels, deck's not that bad. But if you're still hunting down those Rapunzels, maybe stay away from this deck if you're a budget player, honestly. It's a very powerful deck, but it is not budget friendly because those Rapunzels are running $50 to $60 each, and you kind of do need 4 of them, unfortunately. A lot of Rapunzel decks can kind of skimp on them. This is not really one of them. You do need a lot of Rapunzels for this deck. And so that was our updated Amber Sapphire Princesses deck, using some of the very cool new cards, really supporting the healing archetype of the princesses, which I think is cool. It kind of works with their vibe. And I hope to see plenty more support for this deck moving forward. Moana is still one of my favorite characters in this game, favorite build-arounds in this game. She's just so incredibly powerful, and we got some incredible new support in this deck, in this new set, with the small Jasmine, with the new big Rapunzel, and with Mufasa, honestly. It's incredibly powerful in this deck. If you like this deck tech, we've got plenty more coming to you. Plenty more Lorcana decks coming to you with new upgraded decks, brand new decks from the new set, bunch of gameplay, throwing all these decks against each other, seeing some new decks. We'll get some local legend deck recordings from our local event. If you are in town in Tucson, Arizona, we do have local events for Lorcana every Wednesday and Sunday. Feel free to give us a call or swing in store to ask more about that. We've got a really cool community, and if you get undefeated at one of our local events, we will feature you on the challenge if you've got a super swangy deck. We'd love to see those new fresh builds out there, especially if they're doing well, and we hope you guys do too. If you're looking for more Lorcana content, look no further. You have found your best destination. And with that, we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.